A very good morning to you all, wherever you are in the world. I am Train Bellino, so welcome to Sunrise Daily. Welcome to you, well, at least from here in Abuja.
Good morning. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf. Yes, also here in Abuja with Jimberlane. Welcome to the program.
Oh, that's right. We're up bright and early in this part of the country. This is the nation's commercial capital, Lagos. I'm Kayode Kikilu. You're welcome.
Yeah, so let's get right ahead. We've got, of course, the papers will reflect some of those policies, direction that was announced yesterday. We've got Dr. Marcelo Mbamalu joining us this morning. He's a publisher, Prime Business Africa, to talk us through some of these lead headlines and a lot more this morning. Good morning. Good to see you in Abuja.
Good morning, Chamberlain. I'm very happy to be here.
Okay.
Abandoning the commercial capital.
Well, this is where it happens. This is the seat of power.
Oh, dear.
Where it happens.
But a lot is happening, so you have a limit now. Take a look at Vanguard newspaper to explain what we're talking about. CBN limits cash withdrawals to 100,000 Naira weekly. That was the big one yesterday. Look at some of the riders. 500,000 Naira for corporate organizations, 100,000 Naira for individuals, 20,000 Naira maximum daily ATM withdrawal. Banks to load only, wait for it, 200 Naira lower denominations into ATMs. So if you have to withdraw a lot, you already know that will discourage you. Good, but implementation is difficult. Banks, customers. Oh, it will put us out of business. Mobile money agents. CBN did not consult enough micro entrepreneurs group. So, I mean, this is your tough. So,
yeah. Well, Chamberlain, I think it's still a continuation of the CBN's money tightening measures, liquidity tightening measures that it has been, taking over
looks
time.
more like punitive measures.
Yes. No. Well, they have no choice but to do that. Actually, if you look at what is happening within the monetary policy framework right now, what they want to do, the essence of the redesign of the Naira, as it were, is just to. It's part of actually just to be able to have control of money circulation. They've already cried out to say, yes, we have the amount of money printed, but what is in circulation within the banking sector, the financial system, is this little part, less than $1 trillion, about 600 billion or something like that. The first time they announced that. So what will happen now is that, when the new Naira, of course, that new Naira notes will be in short supply. So what they will do is to releasing it just like that in bits, so that they will achieve that, get everybody into the night. Everybody will bring back the old notes, and then they'll be able to monitor. First, they want to tighten liquidity, as I said. Second, they're also monitoring. They didn't pretend about that. They said they want to see there's a lot of underground money going on. So they want to also catch terror financiers. Yeah. They want to also stop people from using the Naira so much for the 2023 elections, vote buying and all of that. In fact, I spoke to an official who confirmed that this is also part of the game. So, but the problem that this will cause is this. The inflation that we are trying to actually tame might be worse, because what will happen, like as it happened in 1980 something, when this happened, I think 1984 that it happened, is that the new Naira notes will be scarce. So when you can't withdraw, when you don't have it, those who sell things in the market, when you get to the market, you have what we call price disparities. You start having different prices for commodities. People will say, because the old Naira will run for some time until they are able to mop up everything. So even there's an indication that even after January, they might allow some windows another window to allow it to run for more time, and all of this. But what it means is that when you have the new Naira, things become cheaper. If you have, things become, you could buy things. It happened in 1984.
Things become cheaper if you have the new Naira.
I just wanted to, let me explain.
Yeah.
People, because there is scarcity of the new Naira notes, people would ask those who are selling, would say, okay, this milk will be 500 Naira. If you are giving him, because it's going to take him time to go and change it. It's still running, because they're using Naira old and new pari passu. So what it means is that they will say, okay, 18 of milk, 500 Naira. If you have new Naira notes, pay me 480. But if it's old note, it's 550, for example. It happened in 1984.
Yeah, but I'm wondering because...
But it's still going to cause some distortions.
Yeah, but in 1984, we didn't have as much capacity for transfer as we do now. So if I bought my product at a certain price, it's not going to be cheaper. In fact, if it's going to be cheaper, shouldn't we test it with the fuel? Because if marketers are saying we can't buy at a certain price,
no, but the problem is that people will not even...
How is that going to work?
The taking the old Naira notes from you is even be difficult. People are not going to... But I'm saying the worst case scenario, people will say it happens.
It's only for cash, though.
Yeah, for cash.
Not for transfer.
Yeah, of course, for cash-based transactions, okay? So it happens. So, but it's still going to have a little distortion in the market because pricing, at least at the informal market, won't be... people would like to actually reflect that. It happens, and it's still going to happen.
You have been a business reporter for many years. And, you know, they say cash is king. I mean, well, I don't know if...
I agree with that.
If they say
cash is king.
Cash is king. And when you look at these limits, are they realistic? 20,000 Naira daily, 100,000 Naira weekly, 500,000 Naira for corporate organizations.
The CBN is just...
Are they, no. I know what this... We all understand what the CBN is trying to do. But looking at the limits that they have set, is it really realistic? It's
not. I know it's not. But I'm just telling you that the situation is worse than it. You see, if you talk to monetary policy managers, you know, on a personal note, they will tell you that it's really more serious than we are. In fact,
why must
someone said that actually that they're telling us there's not so much counterfeit in the but they said those counterfeiters are already perfected. There's so much Naira counterfeit that's in the market out there. But I don't see that as a major problem. But it's there. So a lot of what I'm doing actually is to make sure that everyone, you have little money. Remember there's the cashless transaction. That's cashless policy of the CBN that is going to be implemented. I think also early 2023. They want to get more people to do more cashless transactions and all of those.
But don't forget that this is also December.
Yeah.
Families are making a lot of purchases. You know, people are going to go and buy food stuff in bulk. People are going to do parties. They're going to, you know, a lot of things happen towards the end of the year when companies are also doing their own end of year parties. All manner of things happen in this period.
At the risk of sounding like the devil's advocate, I think there is pain for you to achieve any policy change, and any good policy change. You want to change your policy, you want to do something, transform something, or you want to reform. There are pains, initial pains. What the CBN, I think, is targeting here is, you know, to ensure that people buy into the cashless policy, do more transactions cashlessly.
Yeah, but
and all of those.
If
but
they want people to
pains,
buy into this, shouldn't they have reviewed the previous cashless policy announcement for several years?
Yes.
Is it succeeding? We know there's been a huge challenge about that. How many rural areas, even in urban areas, we have problems with this cash.
I said that earlier.
Cashless.
Yes, I said that earlier. That is going to be problematic. Of course, I said it's
not
not
something
a good...
you force everybody.
Yeah, of course.
People have got
it should be gradual. But they are telling you they don't have the Naira. They're just telling you they don't want to. They are controlling the print. In fact, an official said that they have already the amount of the volume of the new Naira notes to be printed has already been decided. The one that will be printed in next year is already decided.
So it doesn't matter what the citizens want. They've already decided.
So they are reflecting. What is happening is a reflection of their challenge. They have real challenge right now managing the money in circulation, managing the Naira notes.
They don't have the capacity to do that.
And they are passing the buck to Nigerians, to us. And it's sad, you know. But I believe that over time, gradually to
we'll see whether or not there'll be billion van for these elections and how they go about all of these things. Since they want to stop vote buying, we'll see how that works, because it also suggests that some of these agencies have failed in their responsibilities to ensure they track the money. So if all of those systems are there to trace and track those funds, what's up with all of these things? But anyways, I know other people will focus on that. But don't forget what happened yesterday. Morocco is through. Africa's hope is alive into World Cup. So it was pain again for Spain yesterday at the World Cup. So that's at least a cloud. Silver lining at the end of that cloud. It was fun for football lovers, I tell you. That's why I got this morning.
Don't let me sing what's the song that has come to my mind. I don't know why, of all the songs, that's the one making its way to my mind this morning. But take it, because really, when some people are in pain, some other people are actually enjoying they enjoy. So one person's loss is another person's gain. But take a look at this. May you be on the winning side this morning. Yes, and throughout the rest of the week. It's a prayer I have for you.
Amen.
They also have this CBN limits cash withdrawal circulation of 500 Naira, 1,000 Naira notes. I mean, that's the lead story this morning. Maybe that's also, I mean, you pointed out it's a way to also stem inflation. Let's see how it works. Individuals to access 100,000 Naira per week, firms 500,000 Naira. And some people are saying policy will trigger mad rush, undermine mobile money agents. That's according to an expert. We've already dwelt enough on that. Let us take a look at all the stories you find here. An interview, How I Made My Money, attributed to the presidential candidate of the APC, Tinubu. Apparently, he spoke to a reporter in the BBC. And maybe they have details of that for you on page 4 of the paper. Sharia judge registrar remanded for diverting 166 million Naira inheritance. It's a matter of justice here on page 21. Gunmen abduct 8 villagers in FCT, demand 25 million Naira. Now, these are the kind of things that the CBN says it's trying to curb. But, you know, when you're still seeing situations like this, the rollout, I think the rollout is going to happen on the 15th officially.
Yep.
If you go to the banks now, they're not available. They don't have the currency, even though it's been officially launched. What implication do you think it will have for situations like this? You know, when you also still see that right here in the FCT, it's not in Nasarawa or Niger. You know, in villages in the FCT, there's still some insecurity, and they still have the effrontery to demand as much as 25 million Naira.
In what currency? In the new Naira notes or in the old Naira notes?
Yesterday's daily reported that they are demanding for the new Naira notes.
And that's,
will they stop them from demanding for the new Naira notes?
That's more disaster, because even how are you going to get the money to even pay the ransom? How are you going to get it? So the point is that
they are not in a position to request it.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is that this, in my place, they said the ailments that the native doctor would not be able to cure. He will say, go and bring the stomach of an ant. You know, because they know it's impossible to cure. So he will tell you, you won't be able to get the stomach of an ant as a recipe for curing that disease. So that's exactly what I can liken that demand to. 23 million, right? 28 million.
25 million.
25 million, you know, in new Naira notes. Of course, I'm sure the kidnappers will not be asking for old notes, because they are not going to pass through that rigor of going to the banks to get. And you know, the CBN has said already that I think last week, that you don't have to, if you deposit, you can, for any amount to be taken from you to deposit, 1 billion, 2 billion, whatever. But it's not guaranteed that when you deposit it, you'll be able to get it back. You know, and that tells you where we're headed. You know, it's really a big issue. And the economy, the informal economy, I'm not just talking about the formal economy, sometimes they have a way of sorting themselves out in this kind of dilemma. But for the informal economy, it's going to be a real challenge, because, you know, transactions, like you said earlier, this is like a death sentence. 25 million. You're going to get 25 million in new Naira notes. You are not going to get it. So it's like just non-timities. Say your last prayers. So, but I think by God's grace, you know, we know that as Nigerians, we like praying. You know, we pray on everything. By God's grace, I think that we'll overcome it gradually. But it's going to be a real challenge. This festive season is going to be a serious challenge with this new policy of the CBN.
Well, let's leave it there for Daily Trust newspapers.
Right. Take a look at the Guardian newspaper. I mean, if there was something that Nigerians wish we had maybe limits on, it would be this one. The front page of the Guardian has this one: Nigeria to spend 160% of revenue on debt service in 2027, World Bank warns. I mean, where's the limit when you want it, right? Well, take a look at the writers. Ghana's default raises fear about Nigeria's fate. World Bank pushes for aggressive reforms to save economy. 70% of bank loans go into state projects. And you see poor countries' debt service payments to top $62 billion says report. Now, the Minister of Finance has time and again said Nigeria does not have a debt problem, that what we have is a revenue problem. In view of this projection, seeing what's happened in Ghana as well, and perhaps in other countries, do you think that statement is still true?
I don't think it's true. Nigeria actually has a revenue problem. I agree. But I also say that Nigeria has a debt problem because, and the debt problem is even very, very, very compounded, by the fact that we are not in control of the outcomes of the actions we take in terms of repayment, in terms of servicing and all those. Because if you look at what is happening, where are we getting those loans, those debts that are coming from, foreign, they are dollar denominated or euro or whatever, but more of dollars. So, and you see, because most of these loans we are taking, the debts, for most of our debts in dollars, in the foreign debts, they're actually taking on not just not on fixed, they're taking on adjustable interest rates, the rate and whatever. So, and it comes cheap at the initial time. When you take it, they'll tell you, okay, very cheap, very low. Maybe say 1%, 2% is adjustable, and most African countries will, fall for that, and they go for it. But the danger is that the moment, as we have now in the US and the UK, inflation's there, they're adjusting their rates every month. In fact, the US has done that for the past 6 months. They have done every month. In fact, there was a time they did even twice, adjusting their 0.5% by, and all of those points. 0.075% and the rest. So you see that, and once they do that, it means that you're servicing your debt, whatever you're going to pay. If you were to pay, for example, $300,000 as what you're supposed to use to service the debt in a month, and then the thing is adjusted, increased, the rate is increased by your lender. What it means is that you might be looking at, something like maybe 2 million, at all of it. So now, and we are not getting the revenue, just like she said. But the problem is that the money is increasing. If it's steady, if it's static, and then you don't have the revenue, it's a problem, right, on its own. But right now, the problem is that you don't have the revenue, and then the debt itself is increasing. It's increasing because the rate at which you repay is increasing. And that's the major challenge that we have with that, and we're not earning enough forex. Right. So with that, I think what we need to do right now is to have a strategy to reduce our debts, if there's a way we can increase production, kind of ramp up production, right, to ensure that we stop borrowing as it were right now. I think that's a solution. But if you begin to assume that you can just ramp up revenue and continue to service and continue to borrow and continue to pay, I think it's not actually feasible, right, for now.
Just for mention as well. I mean, we'll probably delve into that much later during the course of the program. But still on the front page of The Guardian, this story, just for mention, it's a bit shocking. I'm not even sure where to place it. It says Boko Haram kills 33 wives of ISWAP fighters. And, the motions range from, is it to think, oh, this is a way to go, or the fact that people died, whatever. This is not the headline you would see usually, but that's what it is. It's on page 9. Boko Haram kills 33 wives of ISWAP fighters. Let's leave it there for The Guardian newspaper.
Okay, take a look at leadership next. Amid fear of losing $23 billion revenue, FG goes after oil thieves, sets a panel to unmask individuals, organizations, groups behind crime. Serving retired government officials found culpable won't be spared, ascribed to the NSA. So we understand that this committee or this panel, they're submitting their findings February 21, 4 or 5 days after is the presidential elections. And then, but look, what do you make of this?
Well, better late than never, but we actually slept on this for a very long time, and it took the political season, for us to begin to do something about it. Too bad, but all the same, I can say it's good that at least we are doing something. At least the next government will have something to work on. to say, okay, this is sustain the tempo. But we will recall that this has happened for many years, for the maybe 20 years, or maybe, okay, let me just be more specific. In the last 16 years, according to reports, it's been upbeat. So, and nothing has. It took the campaigns, it took the presidential candidates, trying to, warm themselves into to the electorate and saying, kind of hammering on this for the government in power to do something.
But what do you say to those who think that this is more like papering over cracks? Because
exactly.
There has been several committees before this government.
Yep.
There was even one that was working, that was there. They did some job about this crude oil thefts and stealing asset, where what's happened to that report? And this has been happening for years. And so even some part of their terms of reference is that they wanted to know the functions of those agencies, who was supposed to do what, who didn't do what. But I thought their functions are clear. They're clearly spelled out. Would you need a panel of this to identify who was supposed to do what and who didn't do what?
Even at that, you are sure that nothing's going to happen. At least it's of course, by the end of the day, we just pray that something happens this time. But what happens when a government is serving out its term and is about to leave? I wonder what kind of, well, in some climes you would see real action because there's nothing at stake, okay? But I doubt if this will happen. I just pray this yields the desired result. But, it's characteristic of us, Nigeria, that we have a lot of, talks. A lot of talks, without action.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if they're trying to tell us NNPC did not know when their pipes have been compromised, or is it that they don't know the signature of those products?
But even those in power have told you that the NNPC actually is part of the problem. They've said so, And
we need a panel to perhaps.
How much has the same NNPC remitted to the federation accounts in the last this year, for example?
Oh boy!
The governors themselves said so.
Well, so. Who knows?
It's just like asking the problem to give you the solution. So don't even go there.
You can fool some people some of the time. You can't fool them all the time. Well, look at what's above this lead story. 2023 elections will be difficult to rig, PMB declares. So perhaps in addition to this tightening policy, vote buying. But yeah, he's been on this for a while now. Looks as if he's intent on ensuring that these elections are as credible as they come.
I actually agree that it's going to be difficult if one.
Why do you agree? You're not a politician.
Well, I'm not. I agree.
You don't know they are.
Yes, of course, but I said difficult. I didn't say impossible. It's going to be difficult, more difficult than it was.
Why?
In 2011.
Why do you think
because
so?
Electronic. Yeah, we've been having electronic voting, but collation. The collation is the game changer there, because that is where the figures, the numbers change. But right now, you're going to transmit. INEC has assured that they're going to transmit the result from the polling booth. So I will have the result, just of course. So if it's going to be difficult if they keep to their words. But if they don't, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be difficult going by the Electoral Act as amended. If INEC will keep to their word, and if that's the point, if they keep to their word and go by the rules, it's going to be difficult. That's in principle. But we're in Nigeria. Everything goes. The fears are genuine. People are worried. You heard what the allegation by CUPP, right? Yeah. The
one in
yes. The CUPP, the Association of Political Parties.
Yeah, the allegations that
yes, of course, and whatever. That hasn't been discharged. That hasn't really been discharged. It hasn't been addressed. But they give graphic description, evidence of the plans to do that. And look at the burning of INEC offices everywhere. 7, right? In how many months? 7 incidents.
But how is this going to play out? The president this is his last term. He's on his way out. He says, look, this will be difficult to rig. But those who are fighting to come in and win, if their supporters may say, look, the president is leaving. Even if I was God, he's not the one who's going to prosecute me.
Yeah.
If I work for somebody and he wins, of course he will let me go. So how will those things work? Perhaps we don't have the full picture, do we? Yeah,
as I said earlier, it's only INEC that will decide whether this election will be whatever. Okay. But then the president saying he's going to do that or do this, if you do that or whatever, I think we have cases in the past and happened. What happened in the past and all of that. So it's not really I don't think it's much of disincentive, the statement itself, because there are too many laws that we have that haven't been able to discourage people from doing the wrong things. There are too many proclamations, there are too many threats, there are too many warnings that have come from the presidency, and yet you saw people flouting the rules and nothing happened. So I think this 3 months, how many months? That's 6 months. From now to May, 6 months. The government in power has the last chance to do something more drastic, more positive, to actually set the pace for an incoming government. I just hope, that happens, and that will begin with this election. If I were the president, I would ensure, no matter whose ox is God, I'm going to make sure that this election is transparent, that this election, that's to write my name in gold. That's my last chance to do so, and I will do that.
Well, New Telegraph has another story, or maybe a hiccup that could be coming for the elections. Look at this. Nigerians in the diaspora want 2023 polls stopped.
Okay.
That's what you find on the front page. So many hurdles to go. Sue Buhari, INEC. We won't allow manipulations, Buhari assures West African elders. Only God can decide Nigeria's fate next year. That's attributed to the Sultan. People in doubt of free, fair elections. That's according to CAN. You find details on pages 4 and 5 of the paper. Look at this. Body of Benches cautions NAS against proliferation of law school campuses. That's a story for you on pages 2 and 28. If we're to look at this one at the bottom here, just beneath the nameplate, you have a number of other stories. But let me take you up on this one I'm saying just right on top of the nameplate. Foreign airlines blocked funds in Nigeria. It's $550 million, $1.1 billion in Africa. Reps appealed to IATA for understanding. African Airlines to post $638 million losses in 2022. So our aviation sector is still in dire straits.
Yeah, of course.
What can be done to salvage it?
What can be done to salvage, just like every other sector in the country, taking the beating? The aviation sector is a big-ticket transaction sector. If I invested in aviation, it's not something you just do in a wishy-washy manner. It takes a whole lot of money, a whole lot of commitment, a whole lot of engagement, and all of those. And so when you have a problem, especially we're having a forex issue, whereby government policies is trying to withhold their receipts, in forex going to them. Of course, it's a survival. It's when you're about to drown, or you think you're drowning, you hold on to whatever you see. So it's normal. So that has been on. But with this, I think whatever is going to happen, I said there, I think in one of the engagements that we had here, I said that whatever we're doing now would be like knee-jerk in terms of Nigeria that are trying to respond to get a positive outcome, will be a knee-jerk. We look at the picture, maybe post-2023 election, we'll see what happens. That's the hope that we have right now.
So the airlines will have to wait post-2023 elections?
I'm not saying they have to wait. No business waits. But what happens is that you do what you can, continue doing what you can. Government, nobody gives up on government, but I feel that government should do what it should do. But what can you do when you don't have the means to do that? We are struggling with that chorus. This is, even the redenomination and whatever, the redesign that we're doing is a reaction to our problems, trying to solve our problem. So what can Nigeria do right now except to allow the space, fair play, allow the sectors run the way it should run, no interference. And I must tell you that interference could be, you can't lay your hands on a pinpoint one, but you could say that if we follow the rules, government allows the private sector to run as a private sector, personal interests and other things are not allowed to intervene unnecessarily, you will see that some of the problems will be resolved. Not all, at least not the ones that have to do with forex for now. But I think that by the time we allow this to run through, the redesign policy and everything, the Naira redesign policy to run through, we'll see where we are. From there, we'll begin to, to take action. But for foreign airlines, I'm just telling you that there's a whole lot of issues, not just financial, not just economic. There's a whole lot of issues there that need to be resolved. And until we have the right frame of mind, the patriotic frame of mind that we need as Nigeria, as government, as stakeholders, we're not going to go anywhere with this. Look at even at our own end. You look at what is happening with the Nigeria Air. Look at the domestic airlines going going to the court to challenge the ministry and the rest of the government stakeholders and the project and the rest. So you see a whole lot of question marks, there. So until we do things patriotically, patriotism is not just about the citizen. It's about those in power. It's about you and I. It's about those those that have official authority to do things.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps it up with a look at some of the datas. But above all else, they also need to ensure that all of these policies notwithstanding, we need to ensure that we keep our eye on ensuring that the policies and then incentives for the manufacturing sector is there. Because if after it's kicked in, we need to leverage on that.
Exactly.
Manufacturers have been crying for decades now.
Yep.
So we need to ensure that we pay attention to that as well, notwithstanding all of the policies, as good as they may be. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Marcel Mbamalu, publisher, Prime Business Africa. We will be back in a moment here. Stay with us.
The 2023 election will be taking place on the back of almost 25 years of unbroken civilian rule. That's a record. It is a record for the country which is worth entrenching and celebrating. Every election, wherever it is held, is important to the people or entity directly concerned. It is also important to the global democracy community, one area where the government of the All Progressive Congress, APC, distinguished itself is election management. Today, elections are more credible than ever since the return of democracy since 1999. Recent statutory engagements enactment and allowing the use of technology, the tools for the accreditation of voters and transmission of results, will deliver the fairest and freest election in our nation's history. This is particularly important because the next president of Nigeria, we have some tough choices to make and will not be able to do so with questionable electoral management.
All right, welcome back. Well, yes, indeed. We'll be discussing elections this morning and a lot more. Nicholas Felix, Deputy National Youth Coordinator for the PCC of APC, as well as Kachon Onuju, Special Advisor to Peter Obi on Public Affairs at Labour Party. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for coming on today on the program. Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
Let's even start off with, yes, we know that there's a Chatham House conversation, but this comment coming through from the president where he says 2023 will be difficult to rig, as is being quoted in several papers this morning. Doesn't that give hope to several political parties, if not all, the electorate as well, saying, oh, okay, in addition to the introduction of BVAS and the scenarios, the electoral acts, as it were, these elections might just be one of the most transparent elections, and they may be going by the president's comment, as it were.
It takes from the action of the Senate 7 years ago. They wrote the amendment to the Electoral Act. That's why I said the last time I was here with you that the Electoral Act, in comparison, is comparable to the Civil Rights Act of the United States. Why do I say so? It is going to be the first time in Nigeria's history in the past 20 years that we will actually be casting votes that count. Previously, elections have been written because why? In the amendments, there is a demand for biometric authentication of would-be voters before they can vote. That means there will be a digital signature through the biometric capture by the BVAS architecture for every single vote you cast. Secondly, it also says that everybody who comes there to vote must have his name listed, not using the incident form before. If you see maybe 20 people, then you write you have 270,000 people. That was how Borno returned more votes than Lagos on a day there were bombings all over Maiduguri. Thirdly, and most importantly, it allows us the use of technology currently available to be able to post results from where the results are generated, which is the polling booth, direct to a collection server. And why you're hearing this from the president now is because when the legislation was signed by the president, a lot of people, even the senators, didn't know, to the extent that Ahmed Lawal, the Senate president today, is not returning to the Senate because he did not know that that law says he cannot purchase two forms for two different elections in one election cycle.
Well, I don't know what he knows or didn't know, but the thing is, can we take for granted that as things stand today,
yes,
the Labour Party is satisfied and happy with the processes and what has been deployed to the extent that the outcome of the elections will be accepted by them?
I am very happy with what it is. You asked me a question last week. I didn't reply you that question. But I'm happy that Buhari has now said why I am very confident. The reason you see us all on the surge for P2OB is because we believe that with the new demands by the Electoral Act, that once you vote for P2OB, it will be reflected in the server. So the issue of having the collection center where the magics are done, numbers are changed, cancelled, it's very welcome by the Labour Party. And we're very happy for the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act is a magic wand.
All right. Mr. Felix, what do you think of this?
It's amazing you had to pull that out of him. The first thing I was expecting for him is to at least give the president a compliment. For the president to repeatedly state that this election will not be rigged. The president has assured Nigerians that the election is going to be free and fair.
Why compliment him? That's supposed to be his job.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's supposed to be his job. But anytime he does something that's not too pleasant to Nigeria, we condemn him. I'm not here to defend him. But this man has repeatedly stated that this election can be rigged. In other words, APC, go and do your job. And that's what we've been doing. Let's give him compliment. Let's give him the credit that he's assuring Nigeria that this election will be free and fair. No need to jump around the bush and, give a long story. Let's go out there, every party do your job, and Nigerians are going to vote and it's going to count.
So what is this narrative where your presidential candidate did say that INEC had not given them sufficient, hadn't convinced them about the deployments and efficacy or functionality of BVAS, as it were?
I think this is the first time it's going to be used. So it has not been tested. So I think everybody is expectant that this is going to be productive and it's going to be effective. Not necessarily anybody, APC is against it. APC is not against it. We're just saying it has not been proven. Let's see how this election goes. And,
it's not the first time it's going to be used. I mean, there have been off-cycle elections where it has been tested.
Yeah, but this...
Anambra, it was used there. In Osun, it was used. In Ekiti, it was used. So there have been no complaints, any particular complaints from any of the political parties. It would seem that so far, the results that we have seen from the elections in those off-cycle seasons have been reflective of what the electorate wanted. We've not, I think in Osun we've seen the APC say they're going to go to court. But apart from that, it would seem that largely the results have been accepted even by the public.
Yeah.
So in that instance, can we really say that we do not know what to expect or that we have not seen it in use?
Yeah, this is the first general election is going to be used. State election and presidential election, they are quite different. So I don't think APC has any issue against it. We are hopeful that this will be effective. That's just it. There's nothing to... we are not against it.
So APC as a party might not be, but we keep hearing key members. The chairman, the presidential candidate. And then when you also look at the voting pattern for the Electoral Act, you know, there have been questions raised about, you know, how some members rejected. So there have still been questions as to whether or not the APC, I mean, if you look at the members, if you say that the members constitute the party, and you look at some of these key members, yeah, there are questions as to whether or not the APC, you know, is really on board with this new device called the BVAS, or the new methods that INEC is putting in place.
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone, you know, say that. If you are referring to the statement he made in Chatham House, I think he was comparing it to the diaspora vote, not necessarily saying this is not going to work. He was literally saying, let's try this first at the federal level in the general election before we add something to it. So if that's what you're referring to, he's not against this. INEC has put it into law. This is going to work. And let's hope that it's effective and there are no issues that will cause a rerun in the election. That's just what we're saying. We're not against it, but I haven't heard anyone complain, maybe in private about it, or we're scared about, you know, the election. No. If there's anything I know that even me, I'm even saying they shouldn't, everyone is overconfident that we are winning this election. And I'm even telling them, you guys are too comfortable. You're too confident in this election. Not the other way around, that what we hear, that APC is scared. APC is too confident. What I see in them in the office is, you're too comfortable, you're too confident that you're winning this election. Let's go out to work. Not that we're scared that the election is not going to be effective.
Did the reaction from Nigerians puncture the confidence, reaction to the your candidate's presentation at Chatham House?
Oh, no. I was, if you want me to dive into this, I was literally watching that. I was very excited when I saw him do that. I mean, I'm speaking from...
Which one exactly?
When he asked, first of all, the speech was great.
From the prompter?
Yes, of course. This is the new age. When I did my declaration in Lagos, I used a teleprompt. And I would be surprised if, you know, in this new age, we don't use that all the time. As
Did you ask people to answer your questions for you?
No, okay. What Asiwaju did is my style of leadership.
Which one exactly?
By delegating what we saw played. And the reason why I like it is the fact that someone once told me that before I supported him, I had spoke with a lot of people. They explained exactly what I saw played out in Chatham House. And number two, he just told us, this is what I'm going to do as president. That was, to me, that was a perfect role play. He's telling us, I'm going to have a great team. When I become president, I'm not just going to be the one running everything. My team, we're going to work together as a team. You and I know there's no one person who will tell me you're an expert in economic, you're an expert in security, you're an expert in all of that. No. What makes a great president is having great minds around you who is going to help you drive your vision. So what I saw played out, not because he can answer the question, he did answer many of the questions, but he first of all said, let me delegate to let you know, to display to the world that we have smart people in Nigeria. We have great minds in Nigeria. That's what he did there. I don't see anything wrong with it. I was excited. I was shocked to hear all the people coming out, you know, complaining. I was amazed hearing those things.
We don't know what Dr. Kash thinks about this. Let's find out from him. So he said that's his style.
I will tell you, Nigeria is not a confederacy. We do not run collegiate presidencies. We run executive presidents, one man. Before they traveled, the APC said that they will not come for the town hall meeting because they think that their presidential candidate is more than every other Nigerian. They can't talk to us.
Did they say that?
Yes, they wrote that paper that they will send one of their spokesperson to come and debate with my principal. So once such disparaging language came, I started investigating. Why is Mr. Tinubu running away from having direct interrogatory debate? And that was when people called me and said, look, that he doesn't have control. As he sits, he passes urine. He stands, his hand shakes. He stays, and he could just pass anything. It means he has a mental issue.
Isn't that hearsay?
No, listen, please. We have seen like blah, blah, blue, 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 babu, bababu, boo, boo. Those things are not things he does intentionally. That's when the brain stops reconnecting with the mind. And that we see is a mental problem. That's why he cannot answer questions on his own.
Well, I'm not a medical doctor.
No. I am of a major party, and I'm telling you now, I speak on behalf of those we represent. We believe Mr. Tinubu's mental challenges are the reasons why he cannot talk in public. But into an interrogatory question.
You just said Dr. Nicholas talk about his presentation.
Yes.
He read from the prompt.
He has nothing against it. Why? He's a party man. He cannot criticize
when you say,
me as a Nigerian. I'm telling you the reasons why he does blah, blah, blue, 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 baba, baba, doo-doo is because of a mental problem.
The last time I checked, I'm also a Nigerian. So when you say you are a Nigerian, I will not come on national TV to come and defend nonsense. I'll tell you that. If this was not right, I will not be sitting here telling you. This is a wonderful style of leadership. This is democracy. As a pastor in those days, when we have meetings, even before I founded the ministry, sometimes our leaders will give us instruction we are not supposed to debate. They will always refer to us that this is not democracy. In other words, I'm the general overseer, I have spoken, no debate. Now we're dealing with democracy. You are telling us, why did this candidate allow his team to answer simple questions? Most of the questions, they also, gave input to it. This is a wonderful style of leadership. For me, as an individual who has been an advocate of the youth, I believe if I was on that stage, he would have called me to answer for the youth. And that would have been a great one. I would have been expecting a phone call from you to like, hey, what you have been fighting for is actually playing out. So I was excited to see that play. It tells me this is not going to be an authoritarian leader, a leader that will just tell us, do this. We have no say in his administration. It tells us this is somebody that is going to have a team play. I won't call it worry. My only wish and prayer is for Tinubu to have great minds around him. If Tinubu successfully gets 70 to 80% of great people who wish Nigeria well, who want what he wants for the nation, I could tell you he's going to be one of the best presidents we've seen in modern time, because that is a wonderful style of leadership. Get great minds, people who are experts in different fields to be on the table to help you drive the vision. That's what we need now. We don't need somebody who thinks he knows all and know everything about economics and know everything about medicine and know everything about security. You don't know it all. What makes great president? I've seen this played out in the Western world. Joe Biden does not write all his speech. There are great minds. Even when it comes to the Constitution, they have what they call constitutional lawyers. Okay. They just sit with the president to analyze Constitution. So you need great people around you. And when you give them opportunity to display their capacity, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Is there anything wrong with that?
Yes. We insist Tinubu's health problem is the reason he's unfit for the presidency. And he tries to run away from that health problem being displayed publicly by delegating other people to answer. This is a democracy.
For 20
it has never happened before in a democracy across the world, where when the man vying for the executive position is being interrogated, Erufai didn't accept teachers who were posed questions, bringing other people to answer those questions for them. Erufai, if he could fire those teachers, why would he think he can answer questions?
Let me bring in my colleague in Lagos. He's got questions about
yes,
you. Don't worry, you go. Kaide, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I'd like us to stick to facts, gentlemen, and I'll begin with Mr. Nonuju. I know this has been on for quite some time. I don't know if it will ever end, but let's stick to the facts. You allege that he has medical problems. Last I checked, you're an economist, public affairs analyst. So tell us, do you have anything to that effect? A verifiable document that speaks to what you allege, or maybe something you have seen? Let Nigerians know so we can stick to the facts and leave postulations where they ought to be.
Yes. One fact, at the handing over of flag during the primary, Mr. Tinubu could not form a fist. He couldn't form a fist. That was publicly caught on television. Another fact, when he was speaking, you heard him say blah, blah, blue, blue blue baba, baba boo badu budu, those voodoo incantations were not mistakes. They were consequences of lack of connect between the brain and the rest of the mind. We have all these pictures all over which tells us the man has this kind of challenge. And we are saying due to those challenges that have been physically displayed on television, we believe this man is not fit to hold office. You saw the popular song, hand they shake, leg they shake, Baba will know well, it they say Emiloko. Those things are truths.
What I asked for
specifically,
facts. I asked for verifiable facts. Not, I mean, someone can look at you and say they think you have this ailment or that ailment. It's left to people to say, but then you need to now present, oh, this is a medical report that I have seen that says that he has this particular ailment. Do you have that? Yes or no?
Yes, I do have it. The compilation
do you have it here?
All those
do you have that medical
public,
report here, Mr. Ononuju?
The medical report,
yes.
I am not a medical examiner to issue. I have visual reports that
I asked
tell
if you have
a collection
any
of those
documents to that effect
tells me.
From a certified medical professional laboratory that speaks specifically to what you claim that he has. That's what I'm asking. Do you have it?
Yes, we have demanded that he goes submit himself to a body of physicians. He refuses. He won't even agree to come for town hall meetings. Why will he? He won't even agree to submit himself for medical check. We now are saying these visual optics we've seen are signs of a physical problem, which is as a consequence of the mental disconnect.
Okay, so
and
just to be clear,
this man is not fit for the office.
So just to be clear for our viewers, so that they can know where to place this, you are inferring based on what you have seen, not that you have any documents to that effect.
Well, documents are produced when legal positions force physicians to do an evaluation. But so far, Mr. Tinubu will submit himself to such evaluation. Right. He would have been asked for before. Even to call him to debate and speak to Nigerians, he will not submit himself to such.
All right.
And
so
that's what we're saying.
A
man who runs away from all this scrutiny.
I just wanted to establish, pardon me, I just wanted to establish if you have a document so Nigerians know how to handle this information which you put out. Well, Mr. Nicholas Felix, it's important for you to also speak to this as well, because this allegation has been on for as long as I can remember. Have you cited, have you inquired? Because you've said out here that you will not defend nonsense. Those were your words. So have you inquired? Have you tried to maybe explore this, saying, okay, people say that it looks like you have medical challenges. Indeed, do you have? Is there anything to that effect? Have you tried to explore this, and what did you find?
We have explored and we have discovered
this
that
is from
yes,
Mr. Felix, not for you, Mr. Ononuju. Pardon me. I'd like Mr. Nicholas Felix to respond to this now. Thank you.
Exactly. Yes. You see, we have to stick to the fact. We have to stick to the issues. Nigeria wants to hear what these candidates have to offer. The idea of always bringing personal attacks, attacking his health, attacking his person, I think we need to stop that. He talked about, he's not a medical doctor. There is no medical examination that has been carried out. The man you are talking about, the man has never cancelled any rally. This man has been working tirelessly. Sometimes I'm even amazed how he copes, how he's able to do this. This man is go to bed late, wakes up early, his meetings upon meetings. You go to a PCC office, there are tons of people from one meeting to another. He's coming out from the airport, he's walking to his car, people are talking to him, he's responding. He gets into the car, he's responding. He gets to the rally. This man has been effective. The same people they are complaining is not healthy, the same people they are complaining, the man has not cancelled any rally. We left Bayelsa, he's in Chatham House having meetings, he's having other meetings today, he comes back, he's been meetings upon meetings, the man is doing well. He has this right not to subject himself to whatever doctor you want to bring to come and examine. For Christ's sake, we're talking about a presidential candidate. If he has an issue, we would have known. He has not gone on any medical trip to say, I'm not feeling well, I need to go and treat myself. We've been seeing him every day. There's no day Tinubu has not presented himself either in the office or people having a chance to see him. Everything is fine. Let them seek to the fact. This idea of attacking people, let me say it very clearly. You know, for you to grow old is a blessing. We all pray to get to this age. I'm privileged to have my dad at the age of 83 to come on national TV and always attacking people. I think we need to grow beyond that. We are more civilized than that. Let's stick to the issues. Let's stick to the fact, not just what you see. He went to Chatham House, he stood, he gave speech, he answered questions. From there, he went to another meeting. Come on, what else do you expect?
So last I checked, Mr. Felix, you're in ministry, you're a pastor as well, so not a medical person, just like Mr. Ononuju. And I'd like to know specifically now, have you seen, because both of you seem to be speaking based on what you have seen, what you infer. You say he attends meetings, he does not cancel, and all of that. But have you seen any document, anything verifiable? Because I imagine as someone who will not defend nonsense, you maybe ask for proof that people are saying this. Is there a way to see your medical record or medical record rather? Have you seen that? Have you verified such that you can now tell Nigerians that, well, I have seen it, I have gone to verify, and indeed he is of good and sound health?
If I may even ask, what are we verifying? You're talking about the man's cognitive ability. He can read, he attends speeches, he gives speeches, he answers questions. What even if you call a medical doctor now to come and examine, what are you going to tell the doctor to examine? That's the question. If you go for an eye exam, they will ask you to read from afar. You read different alphabets with different fonts. If you can read and identify, they'll say you can see very clearly. What are you going to examine? The man is fine. The man has been attending rallies, attending meetings. I think it is insulting to say, come and subject yourself to medical examination for what is not there.
Right.
So there's nothing to even ask, oh, people are saying you're not feeling fine. Can I examine what? Examine his brain or examine his head?
So can you tell Nigerians, Mr. Nicholas Felix, can you tell Nigerians this morning that, I mean, you have gone, you have verified, and you can indeed say that he's of sound health? And, you know, when you talked about medical, whether he has gone for medical trip, it was last year he had this knee surgery. So that was one of the medical trips he went for, just as when you said that he has never gone for any. I mean, that's one he went for. So can you tell Nigerians who are listening to you this morning, who are looking to make their decision, that indeed you can verify that he's fine, he's of sound health?
Tinubu is fine. Tinubu is of sound health. There's no day he has refused or was not able to meet with people. Everything is okay with our candidate. There's never a day he canceled any meeting. Everything is fine with our candidate. I think let's focus on the fact.
He canceled town hall.
Okay, if it's not him cancelling, Tinubu is doing extremely well. He attends meetings. As a matter of fact, his schedule, some young people can't even keep up with his level of schedule. I don't think he sleeps up to 8 hours a day. So let's focus on the issues at hand. This issue of a medical report. Every day we see him campaigning. He's in Chatham House. As soon as he arrives, you're going to see him in another meetings. He's been attending meetings upon meetings. So please, let's get back on track and stop this rhetoric we are spilling all over the place.
And we're due for a break. I mean, these are issues you'll have to deal with, your candidate will have to deal with, because the people who will make the decisions naturally would want to know. So we'll go to break now. Lots of stops for us in a moment, so please stay with us. Welcome back to the show. We're still with Mr. Ononuju, who's, well, part of the PCC of the Labour Party, as well as Mr. Nicholas Felix, also a member of the PCC of the All Progressives Congress, the APC. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with us. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this, Mr. Felix, before we move on from the point. This talk about the use of the beavers and all of that. Just to put it on record, what more assurance, if there could be, what more assurance does your party need to show that indeed the beavers would at least work fine and will do very well for this election? Because the national chairman of your party raised it. Now your presidential candidate has raised it. So the question is, what kind of assurance do you need more? Because INEC chairman has said it time and again, in fact, countless times, that indeed this is a way to go and the provisions will work. So what more assurance do you need?
APC is not scared of the beaver. The question a lady asked was including the diaspora voters. So what our candidate was saying is, we have this new beaver that has not been tested yet. We have not used it yet. before we add something else to it, why don't we use this and then move to the next one, which is the diaspora voters, as the case may be. So that's why he referred to that, not necessarily that APC is scared of beavers.
Pardon me, Mr. Felix. This is not about APC being scared. I know you have given that background as to what question he was asked, but these were his words. He said that INEC is yet to assure us during this election that electronic transmission, the technology being used for accreditation, and the total vote count is reliable, dependable, and assuring in our democratic process. And I want to talk about, before we move on to the question which the lady asked. So he was particular about that. So simply the question is, what more assurance do you think INEC can give, or at least those in authority can give, that will give your party that confidence it needs for the beavers and other technology being deployed? What more?
We are saying what he was referring to is we have to use it first. Like I said, APC is not scared of it. We just have to see it being used before you can 100% categorically say this is a 100% guarantee. That's all we are saying. It's going to be used, but we are saying we just want to see it being used. That's all, nothing else.
Okay, so you're saying that you're confident in those, technological innovations for the elections. Is that what you're saying? You're confident in it and you want it to be used?
We're confident and we are hopeful that it will be very effective. That's all.
Right. Mr. Nanuju, I know that your party is quite confident with technological deployment and all of that, but I'd like you to speak to the momentum as we build up to this election, because some have said that this is a long haul. Imagine we still have weeks, months, just about 3 months to the election. And there are those who think that maybe that energy, that momentum that the Labour Party had in the early parts of the campaigning, maybe it is waning and looks like the other parties might be picking up. So I'd like you to speak to that momentum, that energy, which some have said, the Labour Party is like a moving train. Do you still possess the momentum you had in the early parts of this campaign today?
Yes. I thank you very much for this question. That is the strongest arsenal we have in our war chest. The momentum from the youth, the trust of the people in the honesty and sincerity of purpose of our presidential candidate. And that's the strategy we did at the beginning. We put him out, knowing very well he has what others do not have. He has the capacity to speak, because in advanced democracies, it is the candidate that talks, not surrogates, to the electorate. And we have been able to emplace our man before the electorate. They have taken him, the youth, who represent 72% of Nigeria's voting population, are with us. And as I'm telling you, we have increased, because right now we have seen not only the youths, but also their mothers. Right now, we are seeing a lot of the fathers of those youths coming to understand that their children were not wrong after all. So that we are very happy about. We do not mind about those who try to demarket us. You can hear talks about the beavers. They tell us now, where is the Labour Party confidence coming from? They hear, we trust the technology. We trust the cancellation of the incident form. We trust the cancellation of collection center. We trust that votes cast for P2OB will quickly be uploaded and transmitted electronically to a holding server. We know very well Nigerians want to take back their country, back from the artists of state capture who think that they can take the country, write results they want. Now they've seen that they cannot write results. That's why you're seeing all this complaint. It's not an issue of beavers. No, they are only now coming to face with the real consequences of the new Electoral Act. That's why I say the new Electoral Act is comparable in history to the Civil Rights Act in the United States.
Okay, so just
it has given us back our country.
Okay, back to, let me try and, bring Kayode's question into context, which is when he talks about momentum. I guess part of what he might be referring to might be the rallies which your candidate has been attending and which your party has been organizing. For a number of people, they will say that, the momentum and the talk around your candidate, shouldn't it also be reflective in the rallies that we witness at the presidential campaign rallies? Are you impressed by the numbers that you see there?
Oh, yes. The rallies are beautiful. The rallies are normal instrumentations. You pay money. In old political arrangements, bus drivers will use that money to bring people to rallies. That's different. What we chose to do was to embrace an organic form of showing support, and that is the street rallies. And that's what the youth were doing. They were using their money. They were putting it there. I have never seen a campaign like this before. I have been a member of presidential campaign councils in 2007. This is the first time I'm seeing people using their own money to do jingles, using their own money to organize rallies, using their own money. Even their houses were being given houses every time, properties. The kind of things I'm seeing now is frightening. We get so much from the populace. They just can't just look at yesterday. Even the APC governor embraced to show that at the end of the day, the whole Nigerian game is one family. He embraced us yesterday in Owerri. We got to Owerri.
What does that mean?
That means people should learn the kind of politics Governor Uzodinma plays. It's a politics, like Waziri Ibrahim used to say, of no bitterness. And I commend what Governor Uzodinma did yesterday when my principal rounded in. Why did that happen? The Governor Uzodinma saw the momentum with Peter Obi. Peter Obi, the grace is more than him. The truth, what we've seen on the streets, is bigger than Peter.
Does it mean he's supporting your candidate?
No. He supports. He is going for re-election. He supports the society's embrace of Mr. Peter Obi. He doesn't want to be seen as an enemy of society who will go against that who society has embraced.
Well, hold on, that's how you are reading it, because there are questions. I mean, in a situation where, you know, there are fears about electoral violence and there have been talks about political intolerance, some people will say that that was a simple notion to show that there should be no intolerance in the elections. I mean, as you said...
Yeah, we know where the intolerance is. We know where the violence is. They've not stopped.
Just a moment. So, at the end of the day, Nigeria should be the focus. And some people say that's basically what he was trying to demonstrate. You don't see it that way?
That is the right thing. That's how I saw it, and that's why I commend his efforts. And I pray every other person should commend his efforts. The way he gave us his spaces, we had, for the first time, we got Hero Square. We also got the Nwankwo Kanu Stadium. Take what you want, he said. We expect all the governors to embrace it, not be afraid of the organic implosion in country. This organic movement is a Nigerian movement. There is no movement of people from Ghana. Nobody should be afraid of it. We should all tap into it. And the movement seems to have embraced Mr. Peter Obi. That's why I tell you, the momentum we have, no one else has it. Others have momentum that they generate through their own private instrumentations. These are momentums generated by the people on the street. That's why we see it as an organic momentum that we should embrace.
Let Mr. Felix also.
You see, for us as APC, we have been on the defensive side. We've been receiving all the bullets, all the attacks. I'm glad he commended Hope Uzodinma for allowing, even receiving Peter Obi to his state. They went to Edo State. The governor did not allow them. Even the PDP had a rally in the stadium. Lagos State governor allowed them. And you see, we have been on the one.
We're told that the governor actually gave him the vehicles that he used and allowed certain things to happen.
That's exactly what we've been doing. We have been very gracious to them, but all we get is attack. All we get is arrow being fired.
I'm talking about Edo State.
No, but he didn't allow them to use the state. The
governor was very cooperative with us. We were very grateful to the governor.
Which governor?
Edo State governor. He was very nice.
That's not what...
Never mind the pictures you saw.
That's not what we heard.
Intended to tell PDP in Abuja
what that
we're not with them. But we know Edo is a fully obedient state.
Okay, what I'm saying is, you see... I know he's talking is what I do for a living. And
Nasarawa wasn't very good.
Okay, just hang on.
Talking is what I do for I could talk now till tomorrow, I won't be tired. We're trying to be decent. We're trying to run a very decent campaign. Not that nobody has monopoly of attack. We can attack you like like you have never seen. You commit suicide by just we saying words from our mouth. The thing is, we have to play decent politics. We have to do it the right way. We have to be, understand that this is politics. I'm not going to have enemies after election. But for them, it's all about attacks. Somebody gave you a state. Kindly just appreciate him. You went to Lagos State, they gave you the state. You go to other states, they won't allow you. But that's democracy.
Yeah, that's what he's done, and that's what should be done.
But that's not what we are saying
in a democracy. But when you talk about you being on the defensive, some people will say that it is the next elections to be a referendum on how your party has performed.
Exactly.
The APC made some sterling promises in 2015. There have been questions as to how the APC has lived up to the expectations of its own manifesto, what it promised the Nigerian people, the 3 pillars of fighting corruption, of battling insecurity, and of improving the economy. And that the 2023 elections are largely a referendum on the things that you have promised before now. So if you're seeing that a lot of people seem, or maybe the other parties look like they're gaining momentum, there's been a whole movement as a result of the performance of the APC. Aren't there questions as to what you really will be selling to the Nigerian people come 2023?
I don't think they were gaining momentum. They were just busy before we started. Now that we have started our campaign, it looked like they're nowhere. I'm sure that's why Kayode asked the question. When we had no rallies, when we had nothing, it looked as if they were the only people in Nigeria. So that's why you saw those momentum. The question is, where are they now? But election day will determine if those what we see on the streets will translate to votes. Now, like I've always said,
but you cannot dismiss the rallies that we saw before now. I mean,
I never dismissed them.
Can you dismiss them? Can you dismiss the dissatisfaction we see expressed by young people on social media? You represent that populace, and I'm sure you must have seen a lot of it, and how there is still plenty of contention on social media about what the elections will be about. So, for you, when you look at what you witness within your demographic which you represent, vis-a-vis what the expectations are for 2023, how do you think your party will be able to defend itself, because you talk about being on the defensive, within that particular populace?
You see, every time I appear on TV, I've always commended the youth out there that are marching. I've said it times again that every youth out there who is marching for whatever reason, I commend them and I encourage them. And I'm not going to speak against that, because we have a lot of youth in APC also. So the point I'm trying to make is we have been on the defensive side. If you look at this administration, I'm not here to defend the Buhari administration because I wasn't part of it. I think those who are part of it will come and defend it. However, there are great things the Buhari administration has done. Recently, we heard Governor Wike came out and said the 13% fee or whatever that that they are owed, that from 1999 Buhari paid them. If I was President Buhari, or if I had means to tell him, I'll fire everybody that works in his publicity department, because I'm surprised that such huge amount of money was paid to these governors and nobody said it. We were talking in the billions, and Wike came out and said, this is what I've been using to develop my state. He's building flyovers upon flyovers. Every day he has become Mr. Project, they call him. And yet, the other governors, he ate the money and cleaned them out. One came out and said, oh, the money is so small after the discount. It's the couple of billions will not be affecting the economy. He despised billions of Naira. My point is, that is something good. This man paid billions
for what? For the president
this state
doing what he was elected to do.
Okay, why was it not paid from 1999 to now? I mean, let's give him credit.
1999. I mean, that's an exaggeration.
No, that's what they said. No, the point is he paid. I'm just trying to say there are things he has done.
You said they ate the money. Do you have evidence that the governors?
And which governor is that?
Ate the money.
Okay, we were not aware that this money was paid. PDP Governor Wike came out and told the entire Nigerians that he got a couple of billions, and that's what he's using. And he told us to go and ask these governors what they did with their money.
I thought that's not part of some of the highlights that Mark mentioned.
No,
what's your party promise?
No, I'm trying to explain that, yes, this administration, in my opinion, has not done well in a lot of areas. I'm saying they have also done well in some areas. I will repeat. Muhammadu Buhari is not on the ballot. Yes, it's APC. It's going to be Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the ballot. Just same way, the candidates of the Labour Party in 2019, they don't even get almost 25,000 votes in the general election. And now somebody else has come on board and has brought life to the party. It's the same thing Asiwaju is doing to APC. That's what I'm trying people to understand. This is somebody else now on board. The reason why you're hearing of Labour Party today is because of Peter Obi. I don't know what will become of Labour Party when Peter Obi leaves. So the question is, somebody is joining the party, is bringing life to the party.
Okay, let's go right to it. As we wind down, let's go right to it. He said, look, your party may not just have the lifeblood to continue after now, because, I mean, as a matter of fact, I think I read a comment by the...
What party?
The Labour Party.
The Labour Party is not a party today. Labour Party today is a platform we are using to showcase what he said. Once in a lifetime candidate. Peter Obi is right. Is the reason people now have optimism. We are optimistic that
you as a political party.
Well,
on the platform.
Well, that is the way it is. Today, Labour Party is a platform being used by Nigerians to achieve what they see.
So says APC
and obedience movement is not a political party. It is a movement of consciousness, and that is what we all belong to. No matter your party, no matter your affiliation, no matter your religion, once you're obedient, you are there because of Peter Obi. We believe will bring the changes that we need.
All right.
Not the promise and faith that the APC has been doing.
February 25 will be the big day. We'll see what happens. Only one person will win, and all the others are expected to congratulate whoever breasts the tape first. But Dr. Kachi Ononuju, Special Advisor to Peter Obi on Public Affairs at Labour Party. Nicholas Felix is Deputy National Youth Coordinator for the Presidential, that's PCC of APC. So a lot of rhymes there. You have to be cautious. Thank you, gentlemen, and all the best to both of you. We will be back in a moment here. Stay with us.
Integrity of a local legal tender.
On October the 26th this year, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, in a special press briefing revealed that 2.73 trillion naira out of the 3.23 trillion naira currency in circulation, that's about 85%, was outside the banking system.
An indication.
In a bid to curb the holding of bank notes and take back control of cash in circulation, Mr. Emefiele announced the bank's action to redesign the 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes, which takes effect mid-December, and gave January 31, 2023 as deadline for the deposit of all old notes outside the banks.
We believe that the redesign of the currency will help deepen our drive to entrench cashless economy, as it will be complemented by increased minting of our e-Naira. This will further rein in the currency outside the banking system into the banking system, thereby making monetary policy more efficacious.
The new Naira notes were then launched on November 23 by President Muhammadu Buhari. Today, as a follow-up to its currency management and cashless policy drive, the CBN, in a statement, revised cash withdrawal limits for individuals and companies. Going forward, individuals and corporate organizations are allowed to withdraw over the counter a maximum of 100,000 and 500,000 naira per week. Maximum daily withdrawals for ATMs and POS was set at 20,000 naira with a cumulative of 100,000 naira weekly. Also, only denominations of 200 naira and below will be loaded into ATMs. Meanwhile, as an exception for compelling circumstances and legitimate purposes, cash withdrawals above the prescribed limit are allowed, but should not exceed 5 million and 10 million naira for individuals and corporate organizations. However, this would attract processing fees of 5% and 10% and should not exceed once a month.
Oh yes, Nigerians got that memo yesterday. Some are probably waking up to that news, but that is what it is. And this morning, as you've seen, we're joined by Mr. Kola Ayeye right here in our Lagos studio. He's an economist and CEO, GDL Asset Management Limited. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Kaude, thank you very much for having me here.
So quite a lot to unwrap with that one. I mean, we're still just trying to handle and internalize the redesigning of the Naira. It was just this day 2 weeks ago that the president unveiled those new Naira notes, and then this one. We'll get into, your immediate reactions, but just to reiterate, some of the new, the policy, some of the elements of that policy. So as you may have seen, maximum cash withdrawal of over the counter, 100,000 for individuals, 500,000 for companies. But then there's this caveat that withdrawals above that limit, it attracts 5% and 10% processing fees. So you can just do the math. Whatever it is you're withdrawing above that limit, you have processing fees. Of course, the maximum cash withdrawal per week for ATM, 100,000, subject to a maximum of 20,000 Naira cash withdrawal per day. And it goes on and on. Mr. Aye, I know that you've worked with banks at the very top level. You've worked with some sort of, can I say, at the agency level for government, some sort of, what do I call AMCON?
AMCON, yes.
So you understand how these things work. You know the level at which they see the data, they see the market, and come to those decisions. So for you, from that vantage point, how do these decisions actually come to being announced? How do they make these decisions, particularly this one? What do you think were the considerations put in place?
Okay, thank you very much, Kayode. I think coming shortly after the Naira redesign policy, it sends a signal that CBN wants to reduce reliance on cash and wants to accelerate the digitization of the economy. So my view about the policy is that in itself, I don't think it's bad. If individuals can withdraw 100,000 Naira a week, it means that they can withdraw 400,000 Naira in a month. Once the policy came out, I phoned 2 housewives and I asked them, for a family of 5, how much do you need to shop?
In terms of cash or?
Just to shop, because we need to be aware that not most Nigerians don't shop in supermarkets. The average Nigerian still goes to the market. That's where they buy. And I do not think that the market out there, those market stalls, the ojas, as Yorubas call it, I do not think those places are significantly digitized. And we want to do these things without inconveniencing people. So my first concern was, is 400,000 Naira sufficient for what a family needs? And the indications I got from 2 housewives at different ends of the spectrum. One said, I could shop for my family with 50,000. Another one said 150,000. So 400,000 is sufficient. So in terms of the policy itself, maybe there isn't a problem with it per se. My concern is with the focus. Do we need to invest as much energy as we are doing in controlling cash? Is that our biggest problem now? You see, in terms of the details of a policy, save for saying that you can't withdraw more than 20,000 Naira from ATMs daily. That's the only thing. I don't think you should make it more convenient for people to receive cash in the banking hall than in their ATMs. Because there's nothing in this regulation that says you can't go to the banking hall and get 100,000. So if I can go into a banking hall and collect 100,000 in a day, I should also be able to go to an ATM and collect 100,000. So broadly, I don't see anything wrong with the policy, but I have a problem with the emphasis. I have a problem with the focus. I do not think this is our biggest problem now.
Maximum cash withdrawal over the counter by individuals, 100,000 Naira. For corporates, 500,000 Naira. If you want to go above that, you pay processing fees and all of that. You think a lot of energy is being put into this, and you think that this is not where we should be focusing our energy on. But on the other side, you think this is a good policy, ultimately, if it controls, the cash flow, or at least the way cash is being handled in the system. Am I right?
The thing is, you see, the total money supply is somewhere around 46 trillion. The entire cash outside banks is only 2.7 trillion. So all of this effort on cash is 6% of money supply. So even if you achieve all your objectives, you are dealing with only 6% of money supply.
So what should the CBN be doing to get the remaining, 94%?
Okay. Now, so that's, just to make the point again, in terms of details, the ABCD of the policy is substantially okay. But I'm not sure that this is what will move the needle for where Nigerians are, as I said. Now, in context of our 46 trillion of money supply, what is a big problem that we have? And it's been in the press, that through ways and means, the federal government has borrowed 24 trillion. Those are the things that 4-5 months to the end of the current regime, I think that's what should be engaging the attention of CBN, of sitting with the fiscal authorities to say, what do we do? What can government do to pay down this debt, which is not only huge? 24 trillion is almost half of money supply. It's also illegal because we are made to understand that the CBN Act limits the amount the government is supposed to borrow from CBN to just about 250 billion. Look at those two spectrums. The maximum should be 250 billion. We're at 24 trillion.
What about in extreme cases when, there's clear cash crunch, revenue crunch?
Laws are laws. Laws should be obeyed. I don't think we should find ways to break laws. If the law says that and the law does not stop the government from borrowing. It only says borrowing from CBN. So what that law is saying is that if you want to borrow, go through a structured process. So go to the financial markets.
About force majeure, doctrine of necessity, and all of that, you think it doesn't apply? We have not been at war. Can they get this? 24 trillion out of 46 trillion is huge. Is huge. And in terms of its effect, I think that's what has led to very high inflation. It has contributed to the devaluation of the currency, and it needs to be addressed. So India also did this in 2016. India went through this demonetization process, and the results have been mixed. Here, it did not have such a significant impact on economic activity, So we can get this right, and everything about it can work. What I'm saying is that what does it do for the ordinary man? What does it do for the 133 million people who are living under poverty? What does it do for the 62% unemployment and underemployment of youths? Those are the issues. I don't think that this is, because you also need to know that in any organization, including a country, there is a finite amount of energy, of management attention, and of intellectual resource. You see, the energy you use to drive this policy means that if you have a finite amount of energy, you have something less to do the other things. I do not think, in my view, I don't disagree with the policy, but I disagree with the emphasis. I wouldn't do it now. I don't think it's priority. The implementation will generally be with the banks, yes, as it were, and the banks already have the resources, I imagine. I imagine that CBN will not have to get an extra workforce or work extra hours just to implement this. The banks have the responsibility. Of course, CBN is a regulator, oversees all of that. So when you say that more energy will be put into this, where do you see that energy coming from? Okay, for the banks or CBN?
There was a policy of CBN that was aborted several years ago. Shortly after the bank consolidation exercise, CBN wanted to do a Naira. They wanted to strengthen the currency by. I forget the term.
Extra security feature.
No, where you just change the decimal places. It's like decimalization of the currency. One of my concerns before even it was dropped was, you see, it's easy to say that it's going to be handled by the bank. The reality is that when you are changing currency, it affects the entire economy. And it's not just going to take the effort of the banks. It's something that the Ministry of Finance will be interested in what is going on. The presidency will be interested in how effectively it is going on. We cannot say that this is going to be done without management attention on the part of government. I am saying that 5 months to the end of this administration, this government is owing CBN 24 trillion naira, which it should not be owing it. Now, this effort is focused on something for which the total size is 2.7 trillion naira. I think that that's not the place where effort should be directed. It will help. It is nice. It also, I hope it also doesn't make life too uncomfortable for the informal sector. As I said, I think 400,000 naira per month,
is okay, but is this what we should be paying attention to? We have bigger problems that should be that should be the basis of the engagement of the central bank with the government. Just on that point, what I'm saying, for example, is that if the CBN governor goes into the presidency today, I reckon that one of the first things that will be on the table is how is this policy going on. I'm saying that should not be the agenda.
Naturally, and you'd expect that the president should be hands-on, understand what is going on everywhere. But you mentioned the ways and means. You've mentioned unemployment.
Yes.
I think you talked about inflation as well. But really, primarily, how much can CBN do to curb unemployment, for example? So in terms of the CBN Act, its responsibility, first, you agree that this is within its right. You say that it's also good, but all those other challenges you mentioned, how much can CBN do?
In fact, in anywhere in the world, a major mandate of central bank is price stability. And price stability means that the CBN globally is expected to do its best to keep inflation low. No, unemployment rather. It was unemployment I was particular about. So while unemployment is not a key mandate of the CBN, but indirectly, when you keep inflation low and you achieve price stability, what you are doing is that you are supporting economic growth. And economic growth ultimately leads to improved employment. You see, the fiscal side and the monetary side, they are not enemies. They're supposed to be a check on one another, but they're also supposed to collaborate. You see, the objectives which are globally set for the monetary authorities is because when those objectives are met, it is supportive of economic growth. And when economic growth is achieved, you have employment.
So CBN focuses on inflation.
Yes.
There's the unemployment. There's the poverty figures, which you talked about as well, and all of that. And I know that the president, the vice president have talked about this harmonization of the fiscal and monetary authorities. But, for the everyday man, as we say, they listen to this announcement. First, they're still trying to grapple or at least internalize with the new Naira notes, the redesign, trying to ensure that they get all the monies in the banks and all of that before the deadline. And now this comes. What kind of impacts, now short-term, immediate, do you think this will have directly on, as I say, the average man on the street? Do you think this is something good for them? Because, as you said, a lot of people think, how much money do I even carry around these days? And they think about security as well. They think about maybe inflation, of course, that affects them. So do you think this is good for the average man, the 133 million Nigerians or more in poverty as of today?
I want to say again, I don't want to appear to be unnecessarily slamming the CBN or government. There is nothing overly bad about this policy. But this policy is not positive for the average man. What it's actually going to do is that it will lead to a slight slowdown in the velocity of transactions. Because you are changing things. You are saying some of the things, the ease with which you used cash before, is going to be reduced. What it's going to do in the short run is that there will be a slight reduction in the velocity of transactions, and that will reduce output.
How do you mean velocity of transactions? Because you can just do transfers instead of giving cash.
So that means that if I wasn't used to doing transfers, if I didn't like transfers, if that's not my preferred modus of transactions, and I have to make a transition, I have a learning period, I have a setup period, I have to acquire some gadgets, I may have to get used to cards. What that does is that for a short period, it will slow down the rate of transactions. Right. That's normal. That's what happens. Now, it will also lead to a slight reduction in output or GDP. It ultimately corrects itself. It won't be long lasting.
So that's maybe negligible.
I think it will be negligible. However, for where we are at, my point is, why is this the priority? Why?
I mean, that's a very interesting question, but Mawpe has a few more questions for you this morning. Mawpe, over to you.
I really would like to go back a bit to when you were talking about the policy of the CBN as introduced. I don't know sometimes, though. You know that oftentimes or most of the times, or all of the times, the CBN will only have the best of intentions for the Nigerian economy, and wants to do its job in the best way possible. But I don't know if you've ever been privy to any of the, I don't want to say decision-making, meetings, but are you able to look through or look to a crystal ball and say, this is the reason why, or this is how the CBN came about certain decisions? Because when you look at this regulation which they have just come up with, or the guidelines which they have now come up with for banks, some people will say, yes, we can see what the goal will be, but looking at the figures that they have come up with, you have to ask, how did they arrive at those figures?
Well, to be fair to the central bank has a very well-equipped research department. For some years, I used to read the central bank annual reports. And to be fair, the central bank annual reports used to be a product of very excellent research. So I think we should concede to the central bank that they have a well-kitted research function. A decision such as changing currency, even by its nature, has to be, for it to achieve its effect, has to come to everyone as a surprise. I mean, that's the way it's done anywhere it's done. So none of us has a window into how these decisions are taken. What we are left with is to assess what its impacts will be and then make a judgment as to whether it was a good call. I repeat again that I think 100,000 per week for individuals, which gives people cash of 400,000 naira per month. I think for most families will not need to spend more than 400,000 naira cash monthly. So I think that covers their need. Where I think is the issue is, in India when this was done, it did not significantly move the needle in terms of economic contribution, either in terms of reducing counterfeiting or bringing more people into the tax net, or reducing corruption by confiscating illegally acquired funds. It didn't significantly move the needle. So what I'm saying is, if you look at the facts of the policy, it would be unfair to say anything is wrong with it per se. But if you look at in terms of what our priorities should be at this point, I doubt that this is what we should be expending energy on. And on that, I'm very highly persuaded. I do not think this is what should be taking a lot of our energy at this time.
So granted, it is true that many Nigerian families, 400,000 naira a month as a cash limit, should be all right. But when you also look at when this policy is being implemented, at the end of the year, when we have a lot of festivities, oftentimes you also find that there is a rush for many celebrations. People are traveling, and oftentimes when they're traveling, there's also a demand for cash, because you don't know what can happen on the road, and sometimes it's not like as if the internet network is that great. So you have all of this mix going on towards the end of the year, and you see a policy like this. New currency is about to be introduced mid this month. It's going to run till the end of January. How do you think that this is going to be received by a lot of Nigerians at this time, considering the fact that we're in the month of December, the month of festivities?
Mark, haven't you noticed that Nigerians are battle weary? I think Nigerians are going through so much that I think they've even lost the energy to protest. People barely just are able to whimper or whisper. I don't think Nigerians are going to protest much. I honestly think that with what the plan was for the currencies to run in parallel on the January 31st, I think it will run its course. What I will keep saying to those of you in the fourth estate of the realm is that there is a big needs to be addressed. 24 trillion in ways and means, a significant increase in domestic debt to 21 trillion naira. That's what the federal government owes, apart from the ways and means. An increase in external debt to 36 billion from the $10 billion that it was when this government came into power. Those are big issues. So we should not allow ourselves to be distracted. If the president and the CBN governor want to change currency, we should say, okay, well done. But please, how are you going to pay this 24 trillion? It's illegal. And when it is paid, and if it is paid properly, if government finds the right way to find the money, because it's tough, if government finds the right way to find the money to pay it, it will bring down inflation. It will contribute to a strengthening of the Naira. So let's insist that we will not be distracted. It is their right to change the currency. But we should say that there are huge problems you need to address. Will you kindly address it? That will be my approach.
Well, you've just talked about ways and means, and some people will say that perhaps this is also a part of it. I mean, trying to reduce inflationary pressures by ensuring that, they bring in as much money as they can into the system. But I'm wondering, at the end of the day, when the federal government is still looking for resources, and it is the federal government that is borrowing this money, it's not exactly the Nigerian people, borrowing directly from the CBN. It is the federal government which is looking for ways to shore up its resources, making sure that it's able to, fund certain parts of the budget, not just the budget, but also fund some other crucial expenditure items, especially when it comes to looking at the poverty figures that we have, etc. There are big questions as to how. Would you see any link, and I think Akaide was already asking that question, any link between what the central bank is trying to do and what the government has been trying to do, and how all of this is going to affect? Is the central bank, pulling what the Nigerian government is trying to push into the economy?
Mappa, thank you very much. You see, that's actually where the problem is. 2.7 trillion out of 46 trillion will not make any dent on inflation. It will not. That's just the truth. This is not what will control inflation. This is not what caused inflation. It's not the 2.7 trillion cash outside the banks that caused inflation. It's the 24 trillion which was borrowed. It's the fact that at the beginning of this government, as recently as 2015, the federal annual budget was just 5 trillion. This government has increased the annual budget to 17 trillion at a time when it's also not been able to control oil theft. I mean, just look at the contradiction. On the one hand, you want a much, much, much bigger budget. At the same time, the major source of your revenue has almost been halved by theft. Those are the big issues. Let me say it very clearly. It's okay to want to change currency if you want to. It's a good thing. It's a nice, fancy thing to do. It doesn't, I don't think it will hurt people much. But that's not where we are bleeding. Where we are bleeding is that exchange rate was 197 on the street. We all know where it is. It is way over 700. It's not this 2.7 trillion that is going to change it. So so what I'm saying is, growing up, I learned a few Yoruba proverbs. There's a Yoruba proverb that says that it's not that ringworm is bad. But when you have leprosy, you should, first of all, you should deal with the leprosy and not ignore the leprosy and deal with the ringworm. Ringworm is ugly. You don't like ringworm. But hey, we have a bigger problem to deal with. I don't take issues with the fact that government wants to change the currency. What I'm saying is that it will have been nice for us to get the sense that there is continuous engagement within the monetary and fiscal authorities about how not to hand over to the next government a huge amount of debt, which is not only significant, but which is at variance with our laws, which has caused inflation and which has contributed to devaluation.
Okay, let me just pick it up from there. Right. As you said, next government now. Yes. And I know a lot of Nigerians are looking at what's playing out now, and they're trying to see, okay, who's going to fit best? Who's going to make the decisions that I think will reduce all of these indices, which you have talked about? Inflation, unemployment, the rate of the Naira to the dollar, for example. Of course, that's linked to another issue. Maybe we'll touch on that. But for you, as an economist, you have a sense of data, I imagine, and perhaps the pedigree of the different candidates. I know there's a political angle, but for Nigerians who are looking to the candidates, 6 months to go for this administration, you think that they have other decisions to be making, to be expending energy for? What do you think Nigerians should focus on in terms of rating all of these candidates to make the right decision such that they would feel the effect economically? What should they look for primarily? And I'm not just talking president, because I know the focus is always on the president, but we have governors as well who have a major role to play. There was recently a back and forth between the federal government and the governors as to who is responsible for poverty, but I think the consensus is that they are all responsible, even local government. So what do you think Nigerians should look out for? What is most important for them?
I've always said that our biggest problem is corruption. I will keep repeating it. Progress is not possible with the level of corruption we have. It just will not happen. One of my biggest disappointments with the current regime is that I expected this regime to make much, much more progress in terms of control of corruption. That hasn't worked out. So Nigerians need to know. Nigerians need to look for honesty and frugality in choosing candidates. If a candidate comes to the table and shows that he's frugal and he's honest and he will curb waste, we need it because we are broke. I don't envy anyone who is going to take over any of these positions, whether on the fiscal side or the monetary side. This, I mean, just for a moment, the amount of debt we owe now, it will take almost 60% of federal government revenues just to service debt or more. This is near bankruptcy. So Nigerians should look for people with a track record of frugality, of honesty, a defendable anti-corruption stance, not out of a moral point of view, but because it is a necessity. Then the next thing will be, a problem is rarely ever solved at the level at which it was created. Anyone who is going to take a state or the nation away from the problems we have has to reinvent governance, have to come with a level of thinking of a partnership between the private sector and government that takes it to a totally different level, because that is what is going to attract and generate the resources that we need to pull us out of this hole. Clearly, anyone that can position Nigeria in such a way that our diaspora resource will contribute much, much more significantly to the transformation of the economy is another thing we should look at. I've always said that without any special measure, without any special push, Nigerians in diaspora send between $20 and $25 billion to the country annually. We need a government that is very innovative in creating platforms that may make that 75 or 100 billion, and is create frameworks and instruments that will make it make sense for Nigerians abroad to take money against their houses and send home because of the kind of program that has been created. Kayode, we're not in a good place. We are not in a good place, and you need a government that is frugal, you need a government that is honest, then you need a government that comes to the table with innovation in governance.
Because when you think about it, the diaspora remittances are a major source of forex.
Yes.
With crude oil, what we do is swap. So you don't really get the dollar or the whatever foreign exchange. But on a final note, we've talked about what people should look out for. We have just about a minute. What do you think should be big on the agenda of anybody who will be in government or who will come into government to at least shake things up well? What should be big on their agenda?
You must kick corruption down.
Okay.
You must keep corruption down. You must attract significant investments from Nigerians abroad. On the back of that, I think a lot of foreign investment will then come in.
I think you've been consistent with that corruption issue, and I think that's a great place to anchor. We'll be speaking with Mr. Kolaye, who's an economist and the CEO of GDL Asset Management Limited. It's good to have you again in our latest studio.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, that has been the conversation for today. Well, let's see if we have some messages from you. I know it's been quite a lot of things to discuss this morning, so let's take our mails and tweets. First off is from Alamin Ribadu on the CBN new policy, saying this is a good development. It will limit corruption. Oh, there you go, corruption again. And robbery, kidnappers demanding cash of millions, etc. I can see so many advantages of this policy. Nigerians, welcome to cashless policy. He says we shall get there. A new Nigeria is possible with good leaders. So help us God.
Amos says the issue of limiting outflow of money from bank vaults to the economy is impossible to achieve now. The inflationary trend will make control of large withdrawals very difficult. The policy should be subjected to a thorough rethink.
And this one from Dr. Awodi Peter says the 2023 general elections would not only be fascinating, but would also be a litmus test for Nigeria's democracy. While we celebrate the inclusion of beavers and a transmission of results, let's not be overly optimistic, because Nigerian politicians have a penchant for manipulation, given their view of politics as a do-or-die affair.
Chibolu on election, of course, saying Nigerians keep excusing all signs of a candidate who is not fit to be president, a candidate who will not submit himself to be questioned by Nigerians he intends to lead, yet his spokesperson will defend what is obviously indefensible, a man who will rather go to a foreign land not to reel out his foreign policies, rather to debate what he ought to have told a live audience in Nigeria, and along the way delegating answers to questions that are directed to him because voters want to know what he, the candidate, thinks. Ends by saying all the signs are there, but some will ignore it. Well, we elect the president that we deserve.
Well, Henry says, for learning's sake, let's all desist from using medical conditions to humiliate opponents publicly. It is ethically wrong. To avert this in the future, let the relevant laws be amended to include an unbiased medical fitness testing and certification for all aspiring leaders. Being medically, physically, and mentally fit is indispensable for unencumbered delivery in office. No one, even under death threat, will fly a plane piloted by a sick man leading the nation. It's even more demanding than that.
Well, this one is from Professor Inakina, and he says our politicians must be very civil in addressing the probable causes of economic distress, rather than personal attacks to distract Nigerians from the key issues of capacity and capability to navigate our nationhood through the trenches of economic impoverishment.
Well, that is the show today. What a day it's been, and what a week it's also turning out to be. But hey, we do thank and appreciate your messages, and thank you for letting us be a part of your day today, because we will be back again tomorrow asking for more. Thank you for watching. I'm Chamberlain. What's up?
Whatever you do, I hope you're on the winning side today. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
Hey, it's election, right? Not war. So let's be guided. I'm Kaido Kikilu, and the day's just getting started. Goodbye.